So may we turn it over to you?
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our 2025 High-Level Political Forum side event entitled Gender Equality, the Key Ingredient for SDG 2030. My name is Galitsiadis, and I am a student at the University of Toronto and a youth delegate from the Mary Ward Centre in Toronto. I split my time between school, working, and volunteering at court in Canada. I am deeply interested in helping others, especially women and girls, equity, honesty, and bringing heart into spaces where it's often missing. Before we start, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. We ask that you keep yourself muted throughout the event. Please feel free to introduce yourself and ask questions using the chat function. There will be a time to unmute later on when we go into breakout rooms for conversation. We have Spanish and French interpretation available. To enable interpretation, please click on Interpretation at the bottom of the toolbar on your Zoom screen and select the language of your choice. We also wish to acknowledge that this is a safe space for young women and girls to express their views and experiences. We invite you to enter into this space with an attitude of open and non-judgmental listening. Thank you. It is our custom in Canada to formally begin events by acknowledging the land upon which we are gathering, even when we gather virtually. I invite you all to introduce yourselves in the chat and to name where you are joining from and to include the Indigenous territory if you know it. I can give you guys a second to do that. All right, as you guys are doing that, I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. Let us take a moment of silence to acknowledge and honor the power of the sun, wind, and the rain that nurtures life on earth. The spirit of the fields, the forest and mountains, and oceans and rivers and all that lives within. The wisdom of our ancestors, the Indigenous peoples, and the original inhabitants of the land we are on. In particular, we wish to acknowledge the land upon which the United Nations headquarters stands, politically designated as New York City, the homeland of the Lenape, who were violently displaced as a result of European settler colonialism over the course of 400 years. The Lenape are a diasporic people that remain closely connected with this land and are its rightful stewards. We also recognize that New York City has one of the largest urban Indigenous populations in the United States. Let us affirm our desire for right relations with all Indigenous peoples built on respect and reciprocity. Let us commit to readdress the harms of colonialization. And I would now like to introduce the other moderator for today's event, Kimy.
I don't know if Kimy has joined us yet, Mia. She's
Okay.
having some connectivity issues.
Okay, I'll just introduce Kimy
Sure.
in the case that she does come in. So Kimy is a Mozambique environmental educator and girls' rights advocate. She is currently pursuing her 4th year in environmental education. She is passionate about gender equality and sustainability. She leads community-based campaigns, mentors young girls, and promotes environmental awareness in schools. So Kimy is co-moderating with me. She's just having some technical issues, but if she joins, she'll be co-moderating with me today. All right. In that case, should I introduce our first speaker?
No, there's some text to read first, yeah? The introduction?
Okay, I'll read, fine. So today, we come together as youth, as girls, as women, as communities of faith and action to reflect on SDG 5 and how it connects with health, decent work, life below water, and global partnerships. These are not isolated goals. They are deeply interconnected, just like our lives and struggles. As we celebrate 30 years since the Beijing Declaration, let us listen carefully to the voices of girls and young women from around the world. Our stories matter, our strategies matter, and our dreams must be part of the world we are building. Now, we will hear from a panel of brilliant young leaders who will share their realities, hopes, and community strategies as they relate to SDG 5 and beyond. Each speaker will have about 5 to 7 minutes, followed by an open conversation and Q&A. Please put any questions you have for our speakers in the chat while they present themselves. All right, so first, I'm happy to introduce Maya from Mexico. I'm just going to read a bit about her before she speaks. So, mother of 1-year-old, cultural promoter, and baker. She is currently part of the Arts and Culture Training Department at the State Office of Culture in Morelos. 10 years ago, when she met the Grail, she began her journey to address the importance of work and dedication to the rights of girls and women. She is interested in the importance of cultural rights and their direct relationship with the possibility of achieving significant changes for the well-being of women. Over the past year, she has spent her days exploring the theory of tenderness, living every moment with Lucia, and discovering the impact of care on people's lives. All right, on to you, Maya.
Hi, thank you, Mia, for the presentation. So it's really early in the morning here, and so that's why I am asking for consideration, because English is not my first language, and I prepare, so I hope I can go slow enough. And if I'm not, please let me know so we can have a proper translation for Spanish speakers. So oh, this is asking for something. Yeah, I will share up the screen with you and I can start. Let me just, no, sorry. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Yes, now we can see.
Okay, so I will start. So, hi, good morning. My name is Maya and this is Lucia. For at least 2 years, we prepared for her to come into this world. And before she was born, I received a job offer that changed my plans for Lucia's early years. To start the new job and return to the State Department of Culture in Morelos, where I live. I have been a mother for almost a year, and if there is one thing I'm sure of, is that I never imagined I would be where I am now, at least not during Lucia's first year. And although I could philosophize or spend this time talking about how wonderful mother is, in this occasion, I want to share my thoughts on the importance of creating decent workspaces for mothers and for children. For years, I helped care for mothers and their children at different times, with my friends, with coworkers, and with family. This experience made me see that there is a world of injustice for women who are mothers. Now, a few years later, I have had a small taste of this. Lucia comes with me to the office at least 3 days a week, as because she's still adjusting to daycare, and she doesn't like to be without her mom and her dad. So her dad comes with us most of the time unless he schedule conflicts, but he's a full-time dad and stays with us unless he's at work. He's a teacher at the university. I have learned to create dynamics that allow me to move forward with my work without neglecting Lucia. We wake up in the morning and get ready for breakfast. We prepare her nutritional supplements. We have breakfast together, and we rush off to daycare when she attends daycare. And then I go to work. Most of days, I arrive a little late to work, but I'm not worried because the night before I schedule emails, I prepare documents, and I did everything I would do in the morning. Then I pick up where I left a while when I was away. And if Lucia went to daycare, I have 4 hours to rush through my tasks as much as possible. I attend meetings and I continue with planning. If Lucia didn't go to daycare, she sits next to me and we play while I work. Or we can go to the playroom where I work in my job, and I will be in my computer while she's away. Well, she's around, sorry. Later, we have lunch. I'm probably having breakfast since I didn't have time to sit down and eat in the morning. I clean up the kitchen because Lucia loves to eat with her hands and throw her food around. And I continue with the tasks we managed to cover. In the afternoon, we return home. We are tired, and if the baby's awake, we eat dinner and give her a bath. If she's asleep, hopefully she will wake up just long enough to eat a snack, and then she goes back to sleep. But now she's older. She doesn't need to sleep as many hours. So she probably will eat her dinner and will take a bath, and she will demand to play. Sometimes she takes a nap and wakes up around midnight to play and hang around. Sometimes I sleep when she sleeps or play when she plays. And I'm aware that that's a privilege to be able to take those breaks. So when she's really asleep, I go down to the kitchen to prepare meals and snacks for the next day. And when I have finished my cooking, I go back to the computer to prepare all my work for the following morning. And the next morning, we start all over again. Working in the cultural sector, cultural and artistic events are commonplace almost all the time. So at 11 months old, Lucia has learned to pay attention in museums, concerts, galleries, fairs, performance, and conferences. On weekends, we clean what needs to be cleaned while spending time with her. But we also go out as much as possible so she can get to know the world and stay stimulated. This might sound like a living on the edge, and maybe in some ways it is, but I'm aware that there are millions of women living harder conditions than me. But I also can say that it's a slightly calmer life thanks to a community I never imagined I would have, the community of co-workers who have become Lucia's family. From the doormen to the cleaning ladies, secretaries, accountants, interns, teachers, the children of the community, artists, and even my boss. Everyone. They have become a circle of care and support for both of us. And this is what I would like to bring to the conversation today. Although there is no time to talk about the beautiful details of our community, which has decided on a personal level to fulfill what labor policies should do, I feel it is necessary to point out that creating first spaces and conditions for working mothers is a task that remains to be done. Mothers hold up the world in the informal economy, formal economy, in the homes, in business, in schools, on the streets. Recognitions and dignified life for mothers and children is everyone's responsibility, but it is undoubtedly an obligation for governments and entities that create jobs for mothers. So I have a question this morning, and it is how we can sustain life with humanity and dignity if there are no decent jobs for mothers and decent conditions for the children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya. And I just want to add that your story is a living testament to the strength, resilience, and quiet heroism of working mothers, and a reminder that when communities rise to support them, we don't just help mothers survive, we help them enter societies and thrive. So thank you for that. All right. So you guys can think about Maya's questions for when we have the big group conversation. So keep that in mind. For now, I want to introduce Victory from Canada. I'm going to let you know a bit about her as well. So Victory is an aspiring international human rights, family, and immigration lawyer. Her greatest ambition is to help youths and protect individual rights of citizens, regardless of social standing or income. She is a very ambitious, goal-driven, and outspoken individual who loves God, her family, and her education. She is very passionate about childcare and welfare and aims to contribute greatly in ensuring equal rights to all children around the world. So, Victory, on to you.
Okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I'm going to try to share my screen, so please bear with me. Okay, sorry, can you see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So again, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Victory Okeogo, and I'm excited to share some highlights from the report, Breaking Barriers, the Urgent Need to Accelerate Gender Equality for Young Women and Girls. This report was created by the Mary Watt Center in partnership with young women and girls across the Greater Toronto Area. It explores barriers to gender equality in Canada, especially in employment and career development, focusing on Sustainable Development Goals 5 and 8, gender equality and decent work. Before we go into the report, I would like to tell you a little about myself and why I was part of this project. I'm originally from Nigeria and was raised by a single mother. A year after arriving in Canada, I entered foster care due to abuse from my father. But my story is not about pity. It's about resilience, faith, and God's grace. It's about the power a woman can wield when she's in the right environment with the right tools like scholarships and support. That is why I joined this project, to advocate for equal opportunities, especially through education, decent work, and mentorship. In our presentation today, I will share some key findings from our report, highlight the barriers that young women and girls face, and offer recommendations and a call to action. The report gives an on-the-ground look at the experiences of young women and girls in Canada. It takes an intersectional approach, recognizing how race, class, disability, immigration status, and other identities affect access to gender equality and decent work. It draws on research, policy analysis, and conversations with young women and girls. The lived experiences of young women and girls were collected using a conversation circle approach, which are safe, youth-led spaces for open discussion. The report was created with the participation of young girls and women from the University of Toronto, Toronto Metropolitan University, Loreto Abbey Secondary School, and the Mary Watt Center. The focus is on gender equality, which is SDG 5, access to employment or decent work, SDG 8, and how they connect with other goals like education, SDG 4, health, SDG 3, and reduce inequalities, SDG 10. There are some key challenges that were discovered during this report. Nearly 1 in 2 women report workplace sexual harassment, but many stay silent. Less than 30% of those in STEM jobs are women. Heavy unpaid care work limits education and job opportunities. There is a persistent wage gap, even in summer jobs for girls. Systematic barriers in school and sports exist for women and girls. And discrimination based on race, religion, disability, or immigration status also exists. These factors create a cycle of limited opportunities for young women and girls. The research findings and the conversation circles highlight challenges that have been grouped into three main categories. First, workplace and economic barriers. Young women face high rates of harassment and are often in low-paid, precarious jobs. They're underrepresented in STEM and often lack mentors. Second, social and cultural expectations. Many girls face pressure to marry early or focus on family instead of a career. They experience gendered expectations at home, like being expected to cook or clean more than their male siblings. Third, educational and developmental barriers. Girls describe bias in classrooms and a lack of support in male-dominated fields. One student shared that her professor in her department favored male students for research opportunities, saying to her, "I don't know if you have it in you to do it." These categories help us see how complex and interconnected the barriers are for young women and girls in Canada. The young women and girls involved in this report made clear and practical recommendations, such as the need for mentorship and networking opportunities, creating scholarships, ensuring comprehensive education, and expanding DEI frameworks. Regarding mentoring and networking, the message is clear. There is need to expand mentoring and networking opportunities. They believe that programs should start early, include diverse backgrounds, and focus on areas where women are underrepresented, like STEM, sports, and trade. Concerning scholarships, there must be an increase in scholarship opportunities. They should address socioeconomic need, remote and rural access, and support digital tools like high-speed internet to close gaps for underserved communities. Regarding comprehensive education, there is need to provide comprehensive education on gender equality. This should begin in primary school and continue through all levels. It needs to address harmful gender norms, teach about menstrual health to reduce stigma, and equip young women with practical labor rights knowledge, like salary negotiation and how to report harassment. Lastly, concerning DEI frameworks, there is need to expand and protect diversity, equity, and inclusion frameworks. This means compulsory diversity training, better maternity and paternal leave options, including gender-neutral leave, and supports for women returning to work. Crucially, these policies must address multiple intersecting forms of marginalization. One quote from a participant that really stuck with us during this research was that that does not mean women are respected as equals, she said. This quote came in the context of discussing workplace policies that are supposed to protect women. And while those policies may exist on paper, what she and others experience is something very different. They experience being dismissed, disrespected, or unsafe at work. This quote captures a core truth. Legal rights alone are not enough without cultural change, enforcement, and everyday respect from classrooms to workplaces. There's still much to be done before 2030, and the Mary Ward Center will continue to advocate and push for meaningful change. In conclusion, there is a need for urgency, a strong call for action. The girls and young women in our conversation circles urge the Government of Canada to center girls and young women in the solutions for gender equality. This means working with them directly, listening to their lived experiences, and empowering them as co-creators of a fairer, more equal society. With just a few years left to meet the 2030 SDG targets, now is the time to take these recommendations seriously and act more decisively. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
I just want to add a couple words said. Thank you so much, Victory. By elevating the real voices of girls and young women, you're not just presenting a report, you're demanding a future where equity isn't just promised, but practiced, and where young people help lead the way to lasting change. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm now going to present our next speaker for today. It's going to be Lily from Germany. Perfect. So Lily is an 18-year-old youth delegate from Mainz, Germany. She recently graduated from the Mary Ward Girls School, where she was involved in equality-focused school projects and volunteered in her local community. Through tutoring young girls, she supported educational empowerment at a peer level and is now deepening her commitment to gender justice as a youth delegate at the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Loreto Generalate NGO to the United Nations. So Lily, go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me because there's construction noise going on. But yeah, before I start, just a bit about me. I'm German-Iranian, and a big part of who I am comes from the women in my family who fled Iran and rebuilt their lives from scratch in Germany. They faced language barriers, cultural differences, and a lack of support, especially as women. Many migrants still face these challenges today. While progress has been made, these experiences continue to shape my understanding of gender, equality, and equal opportunity. Though this story is not the main focus of my presentation, it is the reason I care so deeply about justice and inclusion, especially gender equality. Today, I am proud to bring both a national and personal lens to this conversation. Germany's 2025 Voluntary National Review outlines 6 transformative pathways towards the SDGs, including gender equality, not just in law, but in everyday life. The report commits to strong institutions, youth participation, and economic justice. But from my perspective, change is still too slow and often not reaching the people who need it most. I had access to high-quality education at an all-girls school, where I was surrounded by strong female role models. Our school leadership was always female. I never personally experienced discrimination, and it showed me the power of safe, supportive environments. But even so, gender inequality is still very much present in my life. In my own family, women earn significantly less than men, even when they work just as hard. The gender pay gap is more than just a number. It's a barrier to freedom and a fair future. Even after adjusting for role and experience, women in Germany still earn €1.50 less per hour, a gap that remains unjustified. In its voluntary national review, Germany acknowledges that the gender pay gap is an off-track indicator, but offers no clear new solutions. As a student preparing to enter the workforce, I already worry about what awaits me. I do not want to face a future where the same education still means lower pay just because I'm a woman. And there's more. I have seen how single mothers in my environment struggle to find housing, not because they're unqualified, but because they are women raising children alone. Their career progress also suffers after childbirth. Part-time work is one reason, but deeper systemic disadvantages play a bigger role. During my internship in a kindergarten, I noticed that nearly all staff were women, and the wages were low. That is not a coincidence. It reflects a wider truth. In Germany, women still carry the burden of care work. and that work is still undervalued and underpaid. Beyond measurable progress, there's something I, like many girls and women, experience every day. A feeling that is hard to quantify, but still deeply real. The feeling of not being safe. When I walk home at night and hear footsteps behind me, I cross the street. When I'm out with friends, we make sure to look out for one another. And online too. Girls learn early on that they're often sexualized, judged, or simply not taken seriously, just for being who they are. You learn to be careful. Sometimes you even learn to be afraid. These experiences rarely show up in statistics, but they shape our daily lives. So if the SDGs were fully realized, I would no longer have to worry about earning less just because I'm a woman. And women would no longer have to choose between pursuing a career and starting a family. Jobs would be equally paid regardless of gender, and women, especially single mothers, would have equal opportunities in the housing market. Moreover, every student, both boys and girls, would be taught that gender equality is not something guaranteed, but a goal that still requires active effort. This would mean true freedom. Girls would grow up knowing that they do not have to depend on a partner, and that their independence is a right, not a luxury. Globally, we continue to face setbacks. Political shift in a number of countries, I do not think I have to name them, have rolled back hard-won rights. And that reminds us, gender equality can never be taken for granted. At my school, I took part in a project supporting girls' education in Zimbabwe and mentoring younger students. And these experiences taught me that change starts early, with visibility, encouragement, and access. As a youth delegate with IBVM, I have learned the power of partnership across sectors, generations, and countries. But partnerships must be matched with accountability. I'm just one young woman, but my story is shaped by many others, my classmates, my family, and all the women who came before me. Germany's voluntary national review sets important goals, sure. But if they are to succeed, they must reach us where we live, in schools, clinics, workplaces, and homes. I believe in this vision, but belief is not enough. We need action, and we need courage. And we need honest conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Lily. Your story and your conversation is a powerful reminder that courage can be inherited, justice can be personal, and one voice. So thank you so much for that. I'm now going to turn to Nosifo. Perfect. So Nosifo is an 18-year-old girl from a deep rural area in South Africa where cultural and social norms don't give space for girls to have meaningful leadership participation. She's a beneficiary of a leadership program run by the Grail, where she is involved in various activities such as awareness campaigns on climate change, water custodian, and food security. So I'm going to turn it to you. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. My name is Nosipho Dlamini. I'm from South Africa. So, hello everyone. Today I'm excited to talk about something that's close to my heart, empowering girls and achieving gender equality. As we strive to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, I would like to focus on SDG 5, gender equality, and SDG 17, partnership for the goals. Let's talk about girls. Girls who face early marriage, girls who struggle to access education due to lack of sanitary products, and girls who dream of becoming leaders but face lack of support. Meet Amahle, a 16-year-old girl part of school due to early marriage, but she didn't give up. With the support of local organizations, she was able to continue her education and become a leader in her community. Amate's story is a shining example of what can be achieved with determination and support. She's a perfect example of SDG 5.3, eliminating harmful practices like child marriage. Notable, the partnership between Mtonjeni and the community leaders has been instrumental in fighting against adoption and forced marriage in our community. This collaboration is crucial for achieving SDG 5. Personally, I've seen the impact of technology on girls' empowerment in my own community. Last year, I introduced a project that taught young girls how to use computers. This initiative not only provided them with essential digital skills, but also bridged the digital divide, especially for girls. By giving girls access to technology, we can unlock their potential, provide them with opportunities for education and economic empowerment, and help them become leaders in their communities. Technology can empower girls by giving them access to education. Online courses and resources can help girls acquire new skills and knowledge. Economic opportunities. Technology opportunities for entrepreneurship, remote work, and access to global markets. Health and well-being. Digital health technologies can improve girls' access to health care, information, and services. Safety and support. Online platforms can offer girls a safe space to connect, share experiences, and seek support. As girls, we have the power to create change. We can support organizations working towards girls' empowerment, advocate for policies that promote girls' education, and educate ourselves and others about the importance of girls' rights. You, the audience, can take action in your own communities, village, or schools. Start a girls' club, mentor a girl, or simply be an ally. Most importantly, believe in yourself and your worth. Girls, we are the future leaders, innovators, and change makers. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You've got this. Every small action counts. Let's work together to make a difference. Let's empower girls, empower humanity. By achieving SDG 5, we'll be one step closer to creating a more equitable world. In conclusion, I urge you all to join me in this fight for girls' empowerment. Let's make a commitment to support girls everywhere, amplify their voices, and promote gender equality in all aspects of life. Together, we can create a brighter future for girls and humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to add that your voice matters, your actions inspire, and your belief in girls' potential lights the path towards a more just, equal, and empowered world. So thank you so much for your insight. All right, and now I'm going to turn to Valerie from the Government of Canada, working actively on the SDGs. So Valerie is a policy analyst in the Sustainable Development Goals Unit at Employment and Social Development Canada, where she has spent the past 2.5 years advancing Canada's 2030 agenda through strategic partnership and stakeholder engagement. With over 8 years of experience in the federal public service, Valerie brings a rich and varied background that spans from project management, court administration, to policy development. With her interdisciplinary approach, she's committed to inclusive, sustainable policy solutions and contributing to Canada's SDG efforts. Valerie, take it away.
Good morning, and a big thank you to the Mary Ward Center for inviting me here today. I'd like to first acknowledge that I am speaking to you from the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe people of the Great Algonquin Nation. As mentioned, my name is Valérie Labelle, and I am a policy analyst in the SDG unit at ESDC. Our unit was created in 2018 to support the Minister of Jobs and Families, who is responsible for the implementation of the 2030 agenda in Canada. Our unit acts as a focal point for the Government of Canada to coordinate efforts, raise awareness, monitor, and report on the implementation of the 2030 Agenda from the perspective of the whole of society. The 2030 Agenda provides a framework for responding to concurrent crises, building resilience to future shocks, and the opportunity to build a more peaceful, just, prosperous, and sustainable world. As you might be aware, the 2030 Agenda encompasses 17 interdependent and indivisible SDGs that cover the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. For today, and in the context of the webinar, SDG 5 Gender Equality and SDG 10 Reduced Inequalities are all relevant SDGs among many others. And an important part of the progress on these SDGs lies in our partners and people in Canada and across the world, including women and girls. We recognize that your full participation is essential for achieving sustainable and equitable growth in society. Now, more than ever, the intersectional realities of women, girls, and youth must be further integrated should we aim to realize the full potential of the 17 SDGs. Your voices, your dreams, and your leadership are essential to building a better world. You're not just part of the future. We cannot achieve the 2030 Agenda and its SDGs without you. When women and girls have equal access to education, healthcare, and opportunities to lead, entire communities thrive. Your ideas spark innovation, your strength builds resilience, and your presence drives progress. SDG 5, gender equality, is not just one goal among many. It can be a key to unlock progress across all goals. So today, I want you to know you are powerful agents of change, and the world needs your brilliance, your courage, and your determination to create a more just, inclusive, and sustainable future for everyone. The inclusion of women, girls, and youth is imperative in turning commitments into meaningful action. Therefore, women play a vital role in putting together the creative, inclusive, and intersectional actions that are required to help drive progress in the realm of the 2030 Agenda. As a woman and recent former youth, but still young at heart, I'm grateful to participate in this conversation today, as the SDGs cannot progress without collective participation, passion, or unity. Thank you again for having me here today, and I'll pass it back to our hosts.
Thank you so much, Valerie, for your insight and for your comments. That was really helpful. All right, so we've heard from all our speakers today. So I just wanted to advise everyone in the audience to be inspired, take notes, and think of how these global stories reflect our local experiences. So I just wanted to say thank you to all our panelists for such thoughtful and powerful contributions. Your insights truly highlight the connectedness of gender equality with so many other vital aspects of sustainable development goals. At this time, we are now going to open it up for some questions from the audience. So please put your questions in the chat or just raise your hand with the Zoom function, and you can ask some questions that you were holding on to specific panelists if you have any certain questions. And we'll take about 10 minutes to do this.
Mia, I think we have some questions from the registration when people registered. Do you have access to those? I will take a look for them.
I don't.
Okay, one moment. Why don't we open it up to conversation amongst our speakers right now? Maybe they can share some of their experiences together and we'll look for the questions, okay? So Janet, maybe you can put our speakers back on the screen. Yeah, Victory, what would you like to share about the presentations you've heard?
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for being here. From all the speakers today, I would just like to say thank you so much for sharing your experiences. It's some of the experiences that we have as women are not the best. So sometimes it can be hard to want to share those experiences. So it's something very brave that you have done. And also for advocating for women, something also very brave that we have all done today. And to you, all not the key speakers or the speakers that came today, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being receptive. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Your support means everything as we try to get to a world where there is gender equality. Until we find the questions, we will just, as key speakers, share a bit about our experiences. I'm a second-year student at Lincoln Alexander School of Law. Sorry, at Alexander School of Law. And one of my key dreams is to ensure that girls all over the world have access to education. And I believe that this can be reached through scholarships and through mentorships, and especially through scholarships. And the reason is that scholarships equip, right? It's not a loan. It's not something that a child or a girl child has to pay back. It is something that you get and that you can use to support yourself in your dreams. And I've often said in other conversations that one of the things that you don't choose as a person and as a child is the kind of family that you get born into, the kind of parents that you are given. So some people get born into very prestigious families. I see Sharon's hand is raised up. Sharon, is that a question that you have? Yeah, you can unmute yourself and ask a question if it's a question that you have. Sorry, you can go ahead, Sharon. I think you're on mute. But I see you talking, but I think you're on mute.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. I was very inspired by all of you and motivated. Thank you so much. My question is, when we have girls groups, starting really from very young, what exercises, what can we do to help them to voice their ideas, to be able to speak clearly and not be afraid to make a presentation?
Does anyone want
Any
to
ideas are welcome.
Okay. Does anyone want to take that or
I can just add something. I think that something that we kind of found like through our research and just like obviously lived experiences was that there is kind of a gap within like youth education. So kind of teaching youth from a young age that they can, especially young girls, that they can be in places of leadership and hold space for those types of roles is so important. And also educating young boys as well that they should be able to see women in those leadership roles as well. So I feel like there's a discrepancy currently with that. So being able to teach young girls from a young age that they are able to occupy those spaces would give them the confidence in the future to be able to pursue those types of roles and hold those spaces. I think that's a major part of it and how we could strive for that.
I think what also helped, like from my personal experience, is especially like all girls schools. Like for me and all my friends, we were really like empowered. They really pushed us into especially like the science direction, like science field. So yeah, just like seeing all these women in leadership positions and just generally they gave us the room to, you know, express yourself like I'm doing right now. I mean, I was given the space, so even though I'm just a young woman and I have never like held a speech in front of anybody. And they, yeah. So just giving the opportunity, I think that really makes something like that can change a lot.
I think Nusi can share a bit also, like what are her experiences or what is that helps her and other girls to empower.
Perfect. We also do have some questions in the chat that I'm just going to read to you guys, and then if you want to provide answers. So the first question in the chat is from Alice. So she says that she invited her nieces and nephews to this call today to learn from all of us. One is in grade 1 and one is in grade 5, and they want to know how can they help.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Sister Julie from Nigeria. I just want to say that parents have a role to play in the life of their kids. They need to know that no gender is more important than the other. They need to teach the girl child to stand up for themselves, get them equipped, teach them skills, not to be self-reliant, not to rely on any man. They don't need any man to be who they are. They need to be themselves. They can do it. So parents have a lot to play. They need to instill confidence in their children right from a very, very young age. If they don't do that, it will have a negative effect. So the parents have a big role to play. It is very, very important. Parents need to be educated on how to instill self-confidence in the girl child. So that's just mine.
Absolutely. I think that like children are super impressionable at a young age, so that makes a lot of sense. Victor, you have your hand up, so go ahead.
Thank you, Sahar. I actually completely agree with Sahar, but to answer more of Alice's question, they can help with also talking to their friends. You know, like our entire conversation circle today is about empowerment, like empowering the girl child. So they can help by also talking to their friends. If they see something, I remember when I was younger, I have a sister and she's a person of disability. The boys in her class used to bully her a lot when I was younger. And I had to stand up for my sister. So if they are in an environment where they see a girl child being bullied, or they see something that they know does not speak of equality, they should stand up for it. They should stand up to it. So tell your friends about it. Have a great sense of self as a woman or as a young girl, and try to carry that through your life and empower other girls and women around you. Because as we are trying to solve the problem that currently is, we want to also make sure that we are not building young girls, you know, that will eventually also, you know, like almost kind of add to what we're trying to solve. So as young as you are, I wish I knew your name so I can address you directly. But as young as you are, try to have a great sense of self as a woman and know that you are great. You are great as you are. And your brother or your male friend is not greater than you just because of his gender. That makes sense. So, but I hope I answered your question, Alice.
Thank you so much, Victory. And Nosifo, did you want to add anything?
Yes, I just wanted to say that something this is simple. Just talk about gender equality, practice it at home, and make everyone feel comfortable and equal. Do not put out like house chores according to gender. Just every must do work equally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second question in chat because we do have quite a bit here. All right, so this is from Eva, sorry. Listening to the speaker's experiences and considering our own experiences with migrant populations, it's clear that migrant women face greater challenges. What are some specific reflections and recommendations for working with migrant women and ensuring they have access to equal opportunity in host countries? So.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Sorry, one more time.
That's fine. I'm just going to read the bottom bit of it where it's the actual question. So, what are some specific reflections and recommendations for working with migrant women and ensuring they have access to equal opportunities in host countries?
I think for me, being a Nigerian immigrant, when I came newly, it was a great disconnect because I wasn't sure who I was supposed to turn to, even with everything that was going on in my personal life. So I think that immigrant women would profit from networking opportunities, even just as a person of color. In my field, I find that there isn't a lot of people to go to that look like me or talk like me or have similar circumstances like me. And there is that gap as opposed to my other classmates or my other friends. So I think that as an immigrant person, as an immigrant woman, there needs to be that connectivity, where I have like a mentor or we have like friends or people of color who can connect us to all this information or knowledge that we are not privy to, especially just coming into Canada.
I agree with that. I think migrant women especially are more vulnerable to things like cultural and systemic abuse, whether that be language barriers, whether that be it could be a thousand things. So having support for migrant women in host countries is extremely important, making sure they have resources available to them so that they can avoid being abused by the system, essentially, and have employment and educational resources that they can use to their advantage is extremely important.
I also think that something that's very important is to have clear that what are our the possibilities we can do as citizens, like, because most of the time, even if it's like regular or legal or illegal immigration, there's different situations where we as citizens can do things because we have a legal status that makes us or can help us to do other things or to push things to happen. And this is some things that sometimes we are not aware of, that in the sense that we can do, of course, a lot of help, like basic work with them or provide some help or different things, but also it's like, as our legal status as citizens, it's also very important to push for things to happen, because there's no way we can manage to cover all the help that the state should be doing in different ways, and mostly for women, for migrant women, so, and children and elderly. So it's also very important to also start to get to know what are our rights as citizens, and how we can make sure to push for things to happen, like policies are and different things to be to make sure that things can happen.
Absolutely, yeah. Sarah, you have your hand raised, so you can unmute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for your sharing your powerful story. It's so inspiring. I'm Sahar Jaya. I would like to share my own life experiences on gender equality and about women, immigration, and refugees. So I'm originally from Afghanistan. 4 years ago, I left my country due to the Afghanistan collapse by the Taliban, and unfortunately, today, women and young girls, they are not able to continue their education, and the Taliban, they removed women and girls systematically from the society, which is really hard and tough for women. They have no job, no school, no education. They're just staying home, and unfortunately, parents who have lower income, they force their daughters, their young girls, to marry with someone who is rich, who have financial support. Besides, refugee women in Iran, it's also difficult for them because the government in Iran, they're pushing refugee women and other Afghan young generations. It's another issues for Afghan people, and especially in recent news is a mass deportation. Afghan people from Iran. It brought a lot of challenges in Afghanistan, and especially young girls who have recently came to Afghanistan, and most of them are young, most of them are under 18-year-old age, and they are unsure about their life and their education in Afghanistan because there's no education in Afghanistan, and unfortunately families they do not have any someone to work or any financial support to provide for themselves, and now they're living in border, which I mean it's tough for them. So yeah, that's my experiences from Afghanistan, and I hope to teach our parents and our community to advocate and raise voices for women, and hopefully we can make a better world for our young girls and women to save and to be safe and to be protected and live in peace and have each one has a right to access equal opportunity, education, better life, everything. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for that. That was really impactful and insightful. We'll do maybe 2 more questions. I think Michelle just has her hand raised if you want to add, and then we'll just maybe address one more question just to be mindful of the time. Michelle, if you wanted to unmute, you can go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. This is Teresa. I'm with Sister Michelle. I come originally from Nigeria, and I have really enjoyed all the presentations because they speak to the heart. They are the reality that we are facing everywhere. I just put something on the chat affirming all the presentations and also indicating that even though one of the presenters had said, we learn, we turned. I think it was Lily that said that, to learn fear. We learn to be careful. We learn to be afraid. I think Mia, she also said, and Mia affirmed it, that we also learn to be courageous. I think that's what most of the young women we have today, including you, the presenters, are learning to be courageous. because the place I come from, we have women who are even afraid to be courageous. They know they know that things are not going well, but they are afraid that if they raise their heads or raise their voices, that their lives will go, that they will be killed. And that is the truth. And I agree totally with what Sahari is saying. Afghanistan may be number one on the list in that kind of thing, but there are countries that call themselves free and liberal, but they are not in reality. As I put in the chat recently, I'm sure you are aware of the saga that happened between a female senator in Nigeria and the Senate president. That came as far as the United Nations because she had to come out. But that is one woman who has been made or has made herself and has a voice. If this injustice and oppression could happen to her, who has a very high standing in society, I bet you worse things happen to the less privileged. And that is why I advocate for education, the education of women. That is the only way we can get out of oppression. That is the only way we can speak and be at par with the men. Because for them, they take advantage of the gender. They feel we are the vulnerable species. We are the ones that they have to take care of. But no, we have our own rights. And as human beings, because every human being is equal, no matter the gender. So that is what we should begin to teach children, both male and female. The problem we have these days is that we take the girls out to teach them their rights. We leave the boys aside, and they don't know. So I advocate for equal training for boys and girls so that the boys will also become aware of the rights of humans as in general. Because if we educate only the women will end up fighting forever for their rights. But if the men also know, we will be at the table together to discuss and to talk as equals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was super impactful, and I agree completely 100%. All right, we're going to go into 2 more questions. So I'm just going to read one that we have. Okay, this is from Audrey. So how significant was the role that mentors played in your life? What are some concrete ways they supported you to overcome some challenges you faced?
Okay, I'm gonna take that. Okay. I think that for me, a bit of context to my life. I support myself completely, but I'm able to do that, and going off what Michelle said, through education and through scholarships. I don't think that I would be where I am or the woman that I'm growing into without the help of mentors. And if you've heard the quote, it takes a village to raise a child. Sometimes it really does take a village, and it's being situated with the right mentors. I believe that I've been very lucky in my life to have met the mentors that speak to my faith, that speak to my education or my career aspirations. And when I was in foster care, for example, I met this mentor, and she told me about scholarships. She was like, "You like to go to school. I think that you should, I think you should apply for scholarships so you don't graduate with a lot of debt." So I was able to apply for scholarships, and I was able to continue to foster my education, my dreams and my aspirations through education. So they've played a very significant role for me. And yeah, through advice, I would say through advice. And also I think a very good, I don't want to use the word use, but a way that mentors are super impactful is the fact that they speak about you in rooms that you may not be present in. So if it's like a job application or a position that you hope that you will get, but you're not there, you don't have those connections, they have those connections and they could speak for you in those rooms. So I hope I answered Audrey's question if she's still here.
Thanks so much, Victory. Okay, Nosifo, you have your hand raised, so go ahead.
So for me, I'll share a small experience. When I was 14 years old, I was lucky. I met some organization, small organization from our communities, which is called Women Leadership and Training Program, Mtonjeni. So they took me from the young age. They taught me everything that I have and what I am today. They provided me as a mental support and also physical support. They've been there every step of the way. They taught me how to be courageous, how to speak for myself, how to say thing is wrong in the right way, how to fight for yourself in a good way without making anyone feel oppressed. So mental
I think we might have lost Nosifo. She does have sometimes the connection does cut out. If she does rejoin, I'll ask her to continue with what she was saying, but just okay. I'm just gonna move on to the second question just to be time sensitive. It was from Stan. He did put in that he left, but I think it's really important to address his question. Let me just go to it here. All right. What would be the one or two concrete things you would ask the men/boys in your lives, fathers, brothers, etc., to adjust and change first? He's a father of a 9-year-old girl, so any recommendations that you guys have?
I think that for me, it comes in two ways. The first one is asking, like when we have questions and we have doubts. I mean, it's also very good to start to learn how to ask things, because sometimes can be communication. It's a whole world that can be complicated many of the times, but asking is always something very good to do. And the second is that we need to look forward, and we need to go outside our first circles, like family and friends and our first communities that we have around. And that's something that I have learned now that I've been working and meeting new people at my job, that it is not only about to take care of the first persons that are around us, but how we manage to bring this help or bring this cooperation with other peoples, with other communities. Like we say something here that is like, we need to go out of these comfortable places where we are, because maybe sometimes it takes a lot of work to be able to change things, for example, at family nucleus, with our children, with our mothers, with our grandmothers, and it takes a lot of work. And when we manage to do, sometimes we forget that outside those circles, things keep happening, and that we need to keep pushing all the time for one side, and for the other also, like trying to be nice and trying to be aware that other people is in the same situation, other mothers, other girls, other young women. It's always like bring these little circles to the outside.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think a lot of it too is just allowing the men and boys in your life to understand lived experiences. I think a lot of the time, sometimes gender equality and inequality is very surface level. They think the basics, like, oh, maybe someone made a comment to you, but it's so much deeper than that, and it's so ingrained in society, and it's something that we have to work to reverse. And I think a lot of it is just sharing your lived experiences with the men and boys around you to actually help them understand. Like if there is a situation that you experience in the moment and you have a man or a boy with you at that moment, like your father, your son, your brother, whatever, just be like, tell them how that felt, like that made you feel. Because to them, as a man, they wouldn't understand how a comment, like a simple comment, could have affected you in that moment, but it goes deeper than that. So just lived experiences are such a big thing, and having a deeper understanding on that is so important. All right, anything else anyone wants to add before we go into closing remarks?
Nasifo is back, so maybe she can finish what she was sharing.
Absolutely, if you wanted to continue.
Oh, thank you. So I don't know where I was, but I was saying that I'm always grateful to my mentorship. Mobile Masuku, Abida, everyone who has been there in my journey of becoming this young girl who's so passionate about gender equality and empowering young girls. I believe this girl wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. They have empowered me a lot. I'm always grateful to them, and I wish there are many people out there who are doing the same job as they are doing to me. So
I think we may, oh, there we go, she's back. Go ahead and unmute again, it's okay.
thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for that, everyone. Does anyone else have anything that they wanted to add in terms of the questions that we addressed?
Yes, hello. My name is Naomi. I just wanted to thank you all for your presentation. I'm not sure if I should put on my video, but please forgive me for this. I'm from MBBI. I just wanted to add that while empowering girls and women is crucial, we shouldn't overlook the importance of intentionally training the boys and men, because too often society is left to shape them, and it hasn't done so well, especially in how women have been treated. So when boys grow up without guidance in empathy and respect and emotional intelligence, it can lead to harmful behaviors and broken relationships. So true gender equality means helping both boys and girls to grow into responsible and respectable adults. So as we raise girls, we should equally try to raise the boys with values and not just expectations. And this is going to help so much as we build a balanced society.
I agree. Thank you so much for that. All right. At this time, I think we're going to go into closing remarks. So just give me 1 second here. All right. So as we come to the end of this powerful conversation, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all our panelists, our organizers, our facilitators, and each one of you who joined us today. Gender equality is not just a goal, it is a commitment we must renew every day. It's in how we speak, how we lead, how we protect the planet, and how we build partnerships across borders. Let us remember that change starts with listening, learning, and leading together. I leave you with this thought. If we want a just and sustainable world by 2030, we must put girls and young women at the center of the solution, not just as beneficiaries, but as co-creators. From Mozambique to Mexico, from South Africa to Canada to Germany, let us rise and let us act. Thank you all for being here. Stay connected, stay bold, and see you at the next event. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you for the interpreters.